Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance is provided by TLC, Oklahoma's leading garden center, Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, Tulsa's source for great gardens, southwoodgardencenter.com. and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Welcome to Oklahoma Gardening. We wish to add to the beauty of the holiday season by looking back at some of the wonderful gardens that we visited last year. We visit a new garden on the OSU Stillwater Campus. Host Casey Hentges gets a tour of the Rodgers Color Garden in Oklahoma City. And we learn of the wellness benefits of labyrinth gardens.
Brown, OSU's landscape designer, and we're going to take a look at a new garden that just opened last week on OSU's campus, right during graduation actually. This is the Human Science East Courtyard, and Dave, there was a lot that went into this before you started selecting the plants, and I just wanted to talk to you about that. What are some of the things that you had to think about in this design?
Well, the first thing we think about when we're designing is where on campus we're designing and how it's going to relate to the surrounding buildings and to the rest of the campus as well. We're standing on Legacy Walk, which was a project that we did a couple of years ago that becomes a very strong access point across the campus, and it terminates on the Human Science building, and it also terminates on what's going to be the new Spears building as well. So that being a focal point to one of our major accesses on campus, or a bookend, we felt it was very important to do this project right. It has a very high design hierarchy for us. So first thing we were looking at is the axis of Legacy Walk. And we had some challenges to overcome as we were doing it. When we did Legacy Walk, this oak tree right here, we feel very strongly about protecting the trees here on campus and do what we can. And so we had to work with that oak, but it kind of pushed the axis of the sidewalk here to the north a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And when you say the axis, you're talking about the U-shape of the building. It's a little bit to the right rather than dead on in the center.
Correct. If you drew a straight line down the sidewalk all the way down and saw it die into the building, it's not going to land on the center point. It's going to land off here to the north into like the north 1/3 of this side of the building, and it becomes a little bit unbalanced that way. So that was one of the things that we had to consider. Another thing we had to consider is running straight into the building is a very old steam tunnel that services the building with utilities. A lot of the wiring, conduit, and things like that run in, and we had to take care of that. So we noticed as we were looking at the axis and we were looking at the steam tunnel that if we lay a sidewalk or the ribbon stone like you see here on Legacy Walk, which also not only serves as accent, but it serves for easier use for wheelchairs and strollers and things like that. But if we copied that form down and used that for our steam tunnel lid, then we could use the access point of the middle of the sidewalk and more or less lined up with Legacy Walk. So it was a little bit fortunate for us that it worked out that way. And that's how the sidewalk was placed, and that kind of started dictating the spaces in the form of the garden.
So the garden over there started with this tree on the opposite side of the street, actually.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it, yeah.
So now, when you moved across the street to the actual garden design, what did you have to think about after you had your access defined?
So once we had the access defined, I started thinking about a space by how I want the space to be used, what is in the best interest of the client being the teachers and administrators and students of human sciences here. And so we wanted to create a really nice, usable outdoor space. And we also, if you don't mind me jumping back, we also looked at the other end where Spears Building is going to have a stage in their landscape as well.
And that's at the other end of this axis?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we figured it would help the two spaces relate. So we're not only trying to relate to Legacy Walk, but we're trying to relate to the Spears Courtyard. And then use a stage. In our stage, we wanted it to be useful in outdoor presentations, classrooms, displaying student art, maybe the fashion show, some of these forums that come about. Maybe this gives them that space that they want where they can bring people from the outside or the inside out, because that's really one of the main goals that we try as landscape designers, landscape architects, to pull people out into our spaces.
Right, right.
So we looked at usability there, and so that's where you see the stage coming in right there.
And there's something unique about that stage. The top of it is actually a certain pattern that you chose.
In the College of Human Sciences, in their textile, in their fabrics, they developed an OSU tartan, which is now on the official Scottish registry. So a tartan is like a plaid pattern that you see like on kilts.
Dave, I think it's really unique that you actually tied in the tartan that was designed here by the college into the garden design. So about the visual weight of this, the stage is to the left a little bit. So tell me about what you had to do to kind of balance that in the garden.
Well, the way we balanced it is one of the requests of the client, the customer here, is they wanted a walking garden. And so when we started looking at the heaviness of the stage and of the sidewalk kind of being shifted to one side, we thought that we could help balance that out and make it feel more complete by putting the walking garden on this side of the courtyard, giving them a unique place to display their donor benches and to be able to come out and relax and enjoy a garden right outside of their building.
Yeah, so that's your more thoroughfare where you got a lot of heavy traffic, and this is a space for students to come out and enjoy and study. So what went into some of the plant selection?
Plant selection we were thinking about in a few terms. We wanted to make sure that the plants we chose could take the environment we were putting them in, and with a few we are taking a couple liberties and maybe some risks, but we'll let you know how they do. But we also wanted to make sure that we had some good seasonal interest too, because the time that this would be most used when the kids come back and start going back to school is in the fall and in the winter, and so we need it to look good at that time of year as well as spring and summer. The colors of the plants that we chose was based on, if you're coming down Legacy Walk and looking at it, what we really wanted is we wanted the colors to pop out and to have kind of their own individuality and not just have this visual mass of green mass from a distance with what happens sometimes with plants. So we use contrasting colors, and one of my favorite contrasts is purple and yellow.
Right.
My high school mascot.
Complementary colors.
Purple and gold, yeah. And there's quite a few selections of plants out there where you can find that purple and that chartreuse or the yellows. And so what we're looking at here is Crimson Fire Loropetalum. It's going to get up just a little bit bigger. I think that's going to get up to maybe 4 foot, so it'll kind of start to spread towards each other and give it a little bit more massing, and also help this space to feel a little bit more protected and secluded, more garden-esque, I guess. And that also, if you'll look behind the benches, we have them there. In front of those, we have Carl Forster feather reed grass.
And so that kind of gives a back to the bench. A lot of times people like to feel secure and feel like they're sitting against the wall. So that creates that effect.
Correct. We have a very obvious thoroughfare bringing people in. It's meant to be a main entrance. It's meant to handle quite a bit of foot traffic. And then just right here, we have a garden where we want people to be comfortable. And so that's how we handle that, is to put something that'll soften that, kind of give people that feeling of having that seclusion and protection.
And you've recycled the benches that were already existing here. So you've been able to repurpose some things. And then can you speak a little bit about the trees that you've selected?
These are butterfly magnolias. They are a hybrid magnolia. We're expecting about in the 20-foot height and width range. And so it creates this overhang or this alley coming down the sidewalk. And again, we want that feeling of garden and protection and comfort and mitigating the sun off of the people who want to come out here and use that.
Dave, thank you so much for joining us and sharing the intention and the reasons behind your design here. And I would encourage all of the visitors next time they're on campus, come check out the Human Science East Courtyard. We are at the Charles E. Sparks Color Garden, and joining me is Jim Woolley, a gardener here, and it's just beautiful, Jim.
Thanks. Here, smell this.
What is this that I'm smelling?
Well, it's fennel.
Oh, okay. There's no caterpillars on this,
Not
are there?
yet, but we're expecting them any day.
It's this beautiful plant behind us here, this bronze fennel. Just amazing. Great for butterflies.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of plants here in what you call your Oklahoma knot garden.
This is my idea of an oaky knot garden. And we've got all kinds of herbs and things here that people love to come out and just, tootle around in here and bring their children out and smell the plants. And you'll see through this whole area here that in 18 months what a lot of hard work can do.
Yeah, for a garden in June, having this much color in Oklahoma, it's just really amazing. There's a lot of natives that you have here, a lot of pollinator plants. This garden originally was the rose garden, correct?
Originally was. We had to take out the roses because of a disease that just, devastated it, and people had they wanted to know where the roses were, but I think they're coming around to liking this as well because of all the pretty color, and it's really offered something to the community. Like I say, 18 months ago, none of this was here, and nothing that you see here could have been done without volunteers.
Who all helps with this? I mean, this is a lot of work.
Master Gardeners has saved our bacon, like really big time. These people are so phenomenal. They come 3 times a month, and they clocked about 2,000 hours last year.
Wow.
of volunteer time. Like I say, we couldn't do it without them. And then we have other volunteers. We have people that just come in and say, hey, you got something I can do? Mm-hmm. And sure, let's go pull weeds.
So they help maintain the beauty of this garden, keep it clean, keep it deadheaded, right. A lot of the weed pulling and that sort of stuff. How does the design come about? You have a lot of color, but you have these kind of punctuations of this burgundy throughout the garden.
Well, one thing we learned from a previous place where we worked, that having a color palette was very important. Mm-hmm. And so that's why that we get together, all the gardeners get together, and they all have some input in it. And then there's the guys of us that work here for the city, and we start getting stuff early in the in the winter time, and we grow it in the greenhouses. We get plugs that are about like this Buddleia was like this big. About
so you've grown most of these out.
Most everything except for the shrubs.
Okay.
And but the flowers, the zinnias and things, we take seeds in the fall. The celosia, people gives us seed, we gather seed and do our own growing and stuff.
Now, do you do education programs out here as well?
We have education programs. We have container gardening classes. We have floral design classes on the Thursday night, the third Thursday night in every month. We have a floral design class for people at 7 o'clock for people who can't get here during the daytime. And then on weekends we have fairy garden classes and just all kind of gardening stuff that we do here.
So what's your favorite plant out here in all of these plants?
Well, I like them all so well. But I think probably the rudbeckias, that's the yellow up there, that's Indian summer. And it's probably my favorite because I can see it from anywhere in the gardens. When we came, this garden, and I refer to it as a garden, it's no longer Will Rodgers Park, it's Will Rodgers Gardens.
Okay.
And, but it was all, shrubs and this and that, and you couldn't see anything, because it was so overgrown. So we were permitted to lift everything up and take a bunch of stuff out where, as you can look, you can just see almost plumb to Portland now and plumb to the interstate. And you can also hear the interstate. This is some of our resident geese, if anybody would like.
They're only pulling the weeds out of the Bermuda grass, right?
Yeah, I hope. But they're fun.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful here. This is obviously open to the public to come and enjoy, and I would encourage the public to get out here and take advantage of this beautiful park. It's amazing the work that you guys are doing here, and we're so glad to showcase it and share it with our viewers.
I'm certainly glad you came, and it's fun. You know, I was going to retire this year, and I've decided I'm just going to stick around.
It's a great office to work in.
It is, and it's fun. You know, we have great people that work here. We probably have one of the best gardening teams anywhere around. And then with the Master Gardener program helping us, and then the volunteers that come in, it makes it all click. But you know, our management has saw that this could be something more than what it ever was. And so we appreciate that.
So we encourage all the viewers to come out.
Thanks for coming.
We are here at the First United Methodist Church in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and joining me is Sarah Hills, and she is a counseling psychology doctoral student. And today we're here to look at the labyrinth that they have here. Can you kind of tell us a little bit? As gardeners, we often look at garden labyrinths and garden mazes as being the same thing. Can you differentiate those two for us?
Sure, yeah. A labyrinth and a maze do look somewhat similar. However, they're very different in purpose and structure. So in a maze, there are dead ends. You can get lost. You can feel trapped or tricked. So they're frustrating. And in a labyrinth, there are no dead ends.
Okay.
There's no trick to this at all. It's a unicursal path that just takes you both in and out. As long as you trust that the path will take you where you need to go, you will get there.
And this is a little bit of a metaphor for life.
Yeah, absolutely, it is, because we don't actually know where we're headed. We have to trust that if we stay on the path, we'll get where we need to go. So as we walk the labyrinth, we know we're headed towards the center and then back out again. But you'll notice that even as we approach this turn here, we're actually going to head back to the outside.
But we're so close.
We're so close. I know, we're so close, but we're going to start heading back to the outside again.
Okay.
And in most labyrinths, that's how it works. So you feel as though you're losing sight of your goal. But in actuality, there is no goal.
Okay, and now you are using this with your studies concerning grief counseling.
Yes.
How does a labyrinth play into grief counseling?
Well, I am a grief counselor at University Counseling Services. And one of the things we look for are tools that help people to approach their grief rather than try to avoid it. And the labyrinth has been used for grief for centuries. It definitely also mimics the grief journey. It's not linear. It's curvilinear, you know? We move in and out of it. We have good days. We have days where things are more tough. So as people walk, they find that it helps them to process through some of the things that they've been going through. It fosters creativity and allows a person to just be and just to experience what's here. Most of the anecdotal records that had to do with labyrinths really suggest that it's very helpful for grief, and people notice immediate changes in how they feel, what they're experiencing, and how they view the process.
Now, you don't just have to be suffering from grief. I mean, this can help any person, correct? At any stage in their life.
Any stage, any age. It's here for everyone. That's the beauty of it being available in public spaces as well. It's free, it's simple, it works, and it helps people to become more mindful, more in touch with the present moment, and frees them up from the life's worries as they're here.
Okay.
It's available for children.
We're now so far away from the center.
Look how far we are from the center.
But we will get back there eventually.
Trust that we will.
Okay.
We will.
So Sarah, you know, obviously people aren't typically talking about labyrinths as they're going through a labyrinth. What is the process as you go through a labyrinth? What should a person be thinking about?
Well, that's another wonderful thing. There just is no expectation. There's no right or wrong way to walk in a labyrinth. The process is simply walking.
Okay.
And what that does is I think it makes it accessible to everyone, open to everyone. You can't make a mistake here. You can't arrive at the end and think you did it wrong somehow. And I think that's different from other types of exercise that we use. So it also works great for everyone's fitness level. No expectations there. You can walk as fast or as slow as you'd like. And many authors believe that just simply stepping into the labyrinth actually begins to foster that mindful, meditative process all on its own. You don't have to actually do something. Now, some people can come with an intention. So walking a labyrinth intentionally means having an idea of something you'd like to focus on while you're here. And maybe that's a celebration even, like an anniversary or a full moon, a solstice or something like that. And so you're walking for an occasion. But maybe it's simply something like, as I walk the labyrinth today, I will pay attention to the feel of the ground underneath my feet. And what that does is keep that mindful focus, that focused concentration on the being instead of worrying about the future, thinking about the past, just present and right here.
Right.
We're pretty far away from the center again.
We are, yes. But we will make it eventually.
We will. We will.
I love that it's such a metaphor for life. Now, are all the patterns the same?
No, they aren't. Most of them are some kind of path encased in a circle, but they come in squares. They are on buildings. They're in pictures. The one that we have just recently added to campus is based on a Fibonacci spiral. So they're all different. There is a typical type of pattern though, and that's some kind of a weaving path within a circle.
Okay. And you've mentioned that some are made even with like light and shadows, that it's just a shadow on the ground and stuff?
Yeah, they can be made of all different materials. They can be mowed in the grass, pavers as we see here. They can be made from light and dark contrasting materials and shadows. In Tulsa, at OSU Tulsa, we have a shadow labyrinth that's on display occasionally. So very portable. They can even be made on canvas, which can be rolled up and taken to different places for display.
Excellent. Well, we have made it to the center here.
We have.
So now is a chance to kind of sit and reflect on some of those things?
If you choose to, yes.
Okay.
Again, no right or wrong thing to do here in the center. It's entirely up to you and what you feel in the moment. You can simply turn around and head back out if that's what you would like to do as well.
Okay. Well, let's take this opportunity. You're also heavily involved in an organization on campus. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I am, sure. Part of my job as a grief counselor at UCS is that I am president of a student organization called AMF, which stands for Actively Moving Forward. And we are a part of a national organization that supports college students who are suffering the loss of a loved one while away from home. We have two components to our group. We have a service group and a support group. Obviously in the support group, we're going to be talking about people and sharing our love stories about the people that we've lost. The service group, however, you don't have had to have lost a loved one to be a part of that group. And so people that are in the service group are trying to give back to our campus community. We started kind of what we call our labyrinth project as part of a way to give back to the campus. We wanted to have a visual space on campus that was recognizable as something that belonged to our organization so that we could try to support the campus in a larger, more constructive way.
And where could somebody go to find more information about your organization?
Well, they can definitely contact me at UCS, and you can also check Facebook, AMF at OSU, and we have a Campus Link account as well.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you.
As gardeners, we're always thirsty for knowledge with anything related to plants and gardening, and we are here at the State Botanical Garden of Georgia in Athens, Georgia, for the Garden Writers Conference. And this conference is comprised of professionals who are writing those websites, those blogs, and those books that you're reading. And it's nice because we're getting out to see unique gardens, private gardens, botanical gardens, and things like that, and you never know who you're going to run into. Hey Steve, how are you doing today?
Hey Casey, good to see you.
Good to see you. Now, you're a nurseryman, so what brings you to the Garden Writers Conference?
Well, I like to continue to learn. You know, a lot of us garden educators, garden communicators, and even nurserymen, we've gone to school, we've learned all of the information the books and everything can teach us there.
Right.
But to continue to learn things, we go to these conferences and symposiums and just other gardens to see new plants, see new ideas, and that kind of thing.
So when I'm at a botanical garden or a private garden, I always enjoy kind of getting a sense of the region and what plants grow there, and also looking at different color combinations and how those plants are used. What is it from your perspective that you're looking for?
Well, as a nurseryman, I'm looking for new varieties, maybe new species, and things like that. And it's kind of cool when you come to a place that's further south than Oklahoma. It can get even hotter here at times, maybe a little more humid at times here in Georgia than back home. So if I see a plant performing well here in the heat, I know there's a good chance it's going to do well back in Oklahoma as well.
Excellent. Well, this is such a great thing, and I would encourage our visitors anytime they're on vacation or in a professional symposium somewhere, whether it's a garden-related one or not, take advantage of those local botanical gardens, because you never know what ideas you can take home from it.
There are lots of great horticultural events this time of year. Be sure and consider these activities when you're making your plans for the weeks ahead. Next week, Oklahoma Gardening is all about pollinators. We'll look in on some research on roadside flowers and mowing practices. We'll have plants for pollinator gardens, and we'll tag some migrating monarch butterflies. So join us then for more TV you'll grow to love. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.